And then he defines poetry. Actually, two definitions he gives. One is poetry, definition of poetry as a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings which takes its origin from emotions recollected from tranquility. He says, and so that is it. Poetry should be a spontaneous overflow. See, whatever that is collected in the imaginative mind of the writer comes out in the shape of poetry when he is getting a tranquil, peaceful atmosphere. Clear? And see, poetry, what is poetry? There are some steps. See, Wordsworth says that a good poet has a very broad mind and a very powerful vision. He will penetrate deep into things. He observes things very closely. He contemplates over it. And that emotion is collected in his mind. And when the mind is in a very tranquil mood, this poetry, words comes out in the shape of poetry. And again, we hear in this context, remember Sarojini Naidu, who also says that for a good poet, see, songs come out as songs come for a singing bird. And so, he says poetry is the breath and finer spirit of all knowledge. And so these are the two things that he says. Poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility. And then he says poetry is the breath and finer spirit of all knowledge. And he denounces the poetic diction of the neoclassical poets for their artificiality. He was against the poetic diction. He was against embellishments. He says that it adds to the artificiality. He does not consider meter and rhyme as absolutely essential for good poetry. He says that meter and rhyme, if there is meter and rhyme and if it comes naturally, it adds to the beauty of the lines. But it is not necessary. He says that meter when superadded can give pleasure. And see, if you are hearing something with a rhythmic appeal, your mind will be getting more happiness, okay? But meter and rhythm are not essential for poetry. And again, he says that there is essentially no difference between the language of poetry and that of prose. And during the neoclassical period, there was a feeling that poets are of a superior stuff. And then poets are very close to God. And again, they thought that poetry is something very special, unique. And prose is somewhat inferior to that. And here Wordsworth says that, no, between good poetry and good prose, there is no difference. And he says that in good prose, there is poetry. If you read good prose, the best lines are poetic. And in a good poem, the best lines will be written in prose. In order to prove this point, he quotes Thomas Gray. And he says that in Thomas Gray's poem, the best lines are good prose. And again he says that actually poetry and prose, different types of composition is made. That is the only difference. See, he says that people usually say that poetry and painting are twin sisters. Why? Because in poetry, words are used to make ideas. Our words are used to draw pictures, ideas. And in painting, using the brush and paint, ideas are created. Clear? And so both of them are doing the same. In one, words are used. In the other one, paint is used. And so Wordsworth says that people usually say that poetry and painting are twin sisters. Why they are twin sisters? Because poetry using words creates a picture in the mind of the reader. And painting using the brush and the paint again paints an idea on the canvas. And Wordsworth says that then why people make a lot of distinction between prose and poetry. If between poetry and painting there is no difference, between poetry and prose also there is no difference. Because both are doing the same function. Isn't it? Both of them are written by writers. And both of them are meant to appeal to our senses. And if meter is there, if rhythm is there, some musical quality is there in addition. Otherwise, there is no difference between prose and poetry. Good prose and good poetry, they are the same. They convey very effectively the ideas. The preface can be divided into four main parts. See the content, then the second the language, the third the poet, and fourth the poetry. And so these are the points in which the preface is written. And so the content part is mentioned, then language, then the poet and the poetry. Wordsworth broke away from the conventional and over-decorated style of the 17th century and created a comprehensible art form for the common people. And so what he does is that he gives up the artificiality of the neoclassical period. And he presents a poetic form that is approachable to the common people. And so the poems written by Wordsworth, they are written in a simple language, the language of ordinary people. And it can be understood by an average reader. And so by reading these poems written in the common language, then the reader gets information and entertainment by reading these poems. And Wordsworth is very particular that every good poem should have this purpose in mind. Every good poem has a twofold purpose to be served. That is, it should instruct the reader. It should give a message to the reader. And it should give pleasure to the reader. And then, again he says that poetry should have the following things. Incidents and situations from common life should be selected. Understood? According to Wordsworth, see, I summarize the points here. See, the poetry, according to Wordsworth, should have these following things. Incidents and situations from common life. And so incidents and situations presented in the poem should be selected from common life. Then the language, selection of language used by common man. And then a certain coloring of imagination. A free play of imagination is allowed. And so, what all things should be there in poetry according to Wordsworth? To emphasize the points, I am repeating it again. That is, situations and incidents from common life, from the real life of common man should be selected. Then the language should be the language used by ordinary people, and if possible, it should be the rustic language. Because there is very little artificiality, and the rustics live in close communion with nature. And a certain colouring of imagination also is needed. Understood? These are the main points that Wordsworth makes in the preface about poetry. Then he explains who is a poet. That also is a very important point. And so we will again sum up the points once again. But remember, the second point is about a poet. Who is a poet? How does Wordsworth defines a poet? A poet is a man speaking to men. Understood? What is the simple definition of a poet? A poet is a man speaking to men. A poet is a man endowed with greater sensitivity and greater sensibility. Understood? That is the difference between the poet and an ordinary man. The poet is gifted with greater sensitivity, greater sensibility. And then the poet is in touch with feelings. He has a rich memory. That is usually every day we witness many things, we hear many things. But after some time, we ordinary people will forget it. But in the mind of the sensitive poet, all these things will be collected up. And so a poet is one with an excellent memory. Then he can sustain the mood of tranquility and peace. And then he can make ordinary things unusual. When a good poet with good imagination presents a thing, ordinary things will become unusually beautiful. See, daffodils. They are ordinary yellow flowers. But when Wordsworth presented daffodils in his poem, the daffodils became excellent, extraordinarily beautiful. And so that is ordinary things. A good poet will mix up imagination, and then the ordinary things will appear unusually beautiful. That is a good poet. That is the sign of a good poet. When a good poet presents ordinary things, they will become extraordinary. Then he binds everything together with love and passion. A lot of love and passion is there in the mind of the poet. He brings everything together with this love and passion. He can feel absent pleasure. Even if pleasure is not there, he can see pleasure even in the ordinary things of life. He can perceive beauty in the ordinary common things of life.